Okay, so welcome again for this session. We are going to use Pandas library in this session, and we are going to discuss this functionality, its importance in the data science and machine learning, right? So first, I'm going to import my Pandas first library, which is called Pandas as PD, right? So once it is uploaded in my session, so I'm going to import one CV. So this is called read CSV, right? So the use of this function is to fetch all the libraries here, like all the CSV dataset, all the module, and then I'm going to give the extension. So this card CSV will consist all the part, all the dataset rows and column, and we are going to import all these values using this PD alias name PD here, right? PD dot, and then this entire rows and column will store in the dataset. Let me run this code, and then let me hit this one. Can you see this data is showing, and we have how many rows do we have? We have 4340 rows and 8 columns, right? So this is the glimpse of my data set. This is the part of my data set. Here we have entire value of the pictorial format, right? Then if I want to check the first 5 record of this, so for this I'm having data.head. So this data.head will give the first 5 records. By default it will showing the first 5 records. And how many columns? Let me count it manually. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So I'm having 8 columns in my data set, which is consisting different values for name, year, selling price, etc., right? If you want to check the last 5 columns by default, so for this we have inbuilt function in Pandas called tail. So the name itself telling the head and tail, head showing first 5 records and tail showing last 5 records. You have seen that it's consisting of 4340 rows. So now it's showing last 4339. So why 39? Because we have first index number 0, starting from 0. So obviously it will end with 4339. If you will count all these values, so sum up will be 4340. So keeping in mind that we have all the rows and column at a simple glance, so we can perform more and more operations here. What are the operations other? So let's say we have sample. So what's sample here? So let's say suppose I'm not giving any parameter, so I'm giving just random sample. It's showing 3394, the data set which is whose index number is 3394. If I run the same command again, so it will show another index number, another random sample from my CSV file, data frame. If I run the same code, it will give another file. If I run the same code, it will give another file, right? So it's just sample or randomly chosen from my sheet, from my records, right? So horizontally choosing from there, right? But if you want to select more than one sample, if you do not give any number inside the parenthesis, it's showing one sample at a time. If I'm giving let's say 3, so I'm going to run this code. So now it's showing 3 sample out of it, right? So if I'm going to run this code again, so it's showing again 3 sample out of my box and rows and column, right? You can see these index values are changing again and again. This is going to run, and if I'm going to run this code, it's going to give different sample, right? Similarly, if you want 10 samples, so obviously you will change the integer number inside the round parenthesis, right? So you can see if you focus on the not the data set but the index number, it's showing different sample the moment I'm going to run this code, right? Similarly, if we are going to select inside the pandas, if I'm going to select a particular column name, so how to select this particular column name? Like name, year, selling price, right? So this is right, name, right? So I'm having name data name, right? This is the name of my value. So it's showing entire column value, right? If I'm having seller type or transmission or owner, so suppose I want to check the selling price. So I'm going to select this data name, means entire data frame name, and then square bracket and then column name inside the quotes because it's a constant value. So I'm going to run this code again in order to show the selling price on the screen, right? But anyhow, if I forget the shape, number of rows and column, number of dimensions in my frame itself. So how would I get that number? So I having that number without the round parenthesis. I'm having that option dot shape. So this is giving number of rows or number of records, comma, number of columns. How many columns do I have there? It will showing at the second parameter, right? So you can recall in between any code and any idea, you can go for the next point if you are forgetting this dimension, the dimension of your values, right? Then we can go for the another objects, like for example, I want to check a column name or use in some other values, right? So I'm going to use this data columns, and you can see these column names are displaying in a single brackets, right? So name, year, selling price, kilometer driven, fuel, seller type, right? So this is the column and the square bracket where we have index and data type object, right? So this is the column name, right? Now we have the data size. What is the size of, let's say, the size of my value? So here we have size. So what is the difference between size and shape? So for this, in order to illustrate this point, I'm going to copy this rows and column and let me multiply these two terms. Here I am going to multiply. So you can see this is 34,780. So what does it mean? It means we have total entries, total identities inside the sheet. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Similarly, 1, 2, 3, 8 then is to the 16. And then similarly, if we will multiply this 8 by 4,340, you will get 34,720. So this is as many as data entries we have in our sheet, right? So this is different between shape and size. So shape gives the dimension, rows and column terms, but size gives the total entries, right? But can we have the particular columns? Let's say I want to create another data frame consisting of particular column names, right? So let me choose from these 3, 1, 2 and 3. So out of the 8, I need only the selected one. Let's say I'm selecting only the those are the numerical ones. So year, selling price and kilometer driven, these three are only numerical one. Rest are consisting of text data. So I'm going to exclude the text data in another data frame and the integer or the number or quantity data in another data frame. So what I'll do, I'll write year, selling price, kilometer driven in the first, in the another. So I'll give like numerical, and then I'll copy the same condition and will go for categories, right? So this will give name and then owner, and then I'll copy the all the columns and will exclude second, third and fourth. These are numerical ones, right? So I'm going to delete this one and then going to delete this numerical one and the numerical, right? Now df numerical dot head, and this is just head and year, selling price, kilometer driven, and you can go for the, you can see this part is consisting only numerical value, right? And this part is kind of this one, all the text value here, name, fuel, sailor type, transmission, owner, right? Here we have all the text data set, right? Suppose we want to check the first question, so we want to check some information there. So out of it, here you can see all the text data set is just separated there. Now we have three data frame. First is data itself, that's the master data. Out of this we have created metadata. First is df underscore numerical, consisting of quantity data, and then quality or category data, we have df underscore category. So we have all these column in a separate value. Now we have one question, question number one. I need the column or the rows, not the column, all the rows, those are having selling price less than 50,000, right? The vehicle or the cars, those are having selling price below 50,000. So what I do, I'll just write the master data, and inside the master data, I'll write the selling price, right? So cut C, selling price, and then less than 50,000, right? I'll run this code, and you can see out of this value, if you cross check these value, you will find all these values are less than 50,000, right? None of are having greater than or equal to 50,000, right? You can cross check this value, right? If you want to check the selling price, like this, like we have selling price beyond 1 lakh, so you will replace this value by 1 lakh and greater than this selling price greater than 1 lakh rupees, right? So here we have all these value here, right? Now the second question comes, suppose my manager needs to sort the data set on the basis of kilometer driven. I need the least kilometer driven values first and increasing order of my all the vehicles with respect to vehicles. But what's the key points? What's the particular dimension there? I'll check, I'll consider, I'll focus on the kilometer driven, right? I want to list kilometer driven out of it, right? So this is question number 2. I want this information from my masterpiece, right? So I'll write data dot sort value. Sort value is the predefined function where we are going to sort this dataset by kilometer driven, right? Let me run this code. Here you can see this is increasing order based upon kilometer driven. So we have 1, 101, 101, 1000, 35,000, 80,000, 8 lakh. So here you can see the random, the index numbers are now shuffled. Why? Because we have all these rows on the basis of kilometer driven. So highest driven vehicle is Maruti Swift 5th XI BS third, which is mostly driven like 8,06,599, and the least vehicle we have Mahindra Quanto C6, which is only 1 kilometer driven, might be first hand only. So the least price is 2,50,000 selling prices, right? So we are not bothered about selling price here. We are focused or emphasized on kilometer driven, which is 1 as of now, right? So here you can see after this Mahindra, second comes Ford Figo Titanium 101, then Ford Freestyle Titanium Diesel, and so on. Here we have random numbers, right? Suppose one is asked in the same way. One is asking the, what is the third question here? Third question is question number 3 is sort the data year based. So I'm going to sort the same data on the basis of year, like oldest to the new one, right? Newest to the oldest one. So you can see the 1992, the oldest vehicle I am having, Maruti 800 AC BS2, which is as old as possible, 1992. The manufacturing year of this vehicle is 92. The second comes 1995, 1996, and the newest one, the latest vehicle we have, Ford Figo Aspire 1.5 TDCI titanium, right? It's a manufactured in 2020, 2020, right? So on the basis of this, we can go for this value, right? Suppose next we have question number 4. So what's the question number 4? For the same masterpiece, for the question number 4, I'm going to sort the data set on the basis of, let's say, selling price, kilometer driven, let's say kilometer driven, but I need not the ascending order but the descending order, right? So what I'll do, I'll make it ascending is equal to files. So ascending is the parameter or argument already defined here. Like let's say we have by, so we have this sort value on the basis of kilometer driven. So I'll give the values by is equal to kilometer driven. Similarly, if I'll keep by default this ascending is equal to true, either you write it or mention it or not inside your round bracket. But if you are mentioning ascending is equal to false, which means you are making it in reverse order, not the ascending order, but obviously what's the false of ascending? That is descending. It's a natural process. It's a obvious question that the reverse order of ascending is descending order. So let me run this code. Here you can see ascending order means first we have kilometer driven means 8,06,000 Maruti Swift, then comes the next, then now we have one at the as the last row. Here we have Mahindra Koto as a last row. So this is called the one value and the final value of my ascending values, right, in the descending order, right? Now what is the sorting value? तो अगर आपके नोट्स हैं, शॉर्ट नोट्स हैं, आपको कहीं लिखा हुआ है, देन यू कैन रिवाइज की सॉर्ट को करने के लिए हमें सॉर्ट अंडरस्कोर वैल्यूज का यूज करना पड़ता है. Then you can go for the another part, like we have this data underscore square bracket. तो यहाँ पर एक मेटा डेटा आपको बनाना है आउट ऑफ द मास्टरपीस, तो यू कैन क्रिएट इजीली, राइट, अगर आपके पास एक सैम्पल लिखा हुआ है. सिमिलरली कैटेगरी, न्यूमेरिकल, साइज, शेप, तो ये सारे फंक्शंस आपको एटलीस्ट बेसिक्स फंक्शंस आपको याद होने चाहिए. तो अभी से आप एक नोट्स बनाइए, उसको प्रिपेयर करिए और उसका रिवीजन करते रहिए, ताकि जब इंटरव्यू में पूछा जाए तो आप उसको रिकॉल कर पाएंगे. इंटरव्यू में कोई भी न्यू क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछेगा, आपसे वही सेम क्वेश्चन पूछेगा कि यहाँ पर सॉर्ट वैल्यूज कैसे करें, असेंडिंग को डिसेंडिंग कैसे करें, राइट. नाउ गो अहेड. if you do not have any doubt, we can move ahead. Are we good to go? Yes. So then we have next part, that is called group by in data, right? So this is called data dot group by, right? The simple function is there, and then on the basis of seller underscore type, and then this will be dot mean, right? So this will be group by. Let me check, do we have another? Okay, let me check coming session why it's showing error. So let me check like why we have, what are the data values. So let's see, this is consisting fuel, right? So fuel dot value underscore counts. So let me check the value count. So here we have individual count of each category. Like diesel, we have 2153 entity, petrol and this entity, CNG this entity, this number of rows we have belonging to LPG, and we have only one vehicle which is belong to electric, right? So only electric vehicle are there in our data set. Only one we have 23 LPG vehicle in all of us, right? So similarly, we can go for another value. Oh, it's again showing. I'll check why it's not showing this operator. So we can merge two data set, like why we are having merge two data frame, right? So first we need to create the data set data, and I want to merge this value, so I'll use dot merge, and then df comma on is equal to owner, right? So on the basis of owner I'm going to merge this. So let's see what's the value here. So okay, so we do not have any option. So what other we have option, like the category do we have? We have this data selling price, data categories. The owner we have in the inside the df underscore categories, right? So now we have df underscore category, right? So if you will find the merge option, so you can merge these two part. First is data which is the masterpiece. Now we have second value. Now you can see it's just merging, right? But here you can see it's showing so many number of rows. Why? Because we have multiplication of it, right? The multiplication will be done on the basis of respective category, respective value, right? Then we can go for the pivot table, right? So how to do that pivot table? Let me copy paste here. So data dot pivot underscore table, then index is equal to fuel, and then column is equal to transform, and values is equal to selling price. So here you can see it's showing transmission is kind of columns. Here we have these categories: CNG, diesel, LPG, right? Index is equal to fuel. Like, what is the fuel? So fuel we have only two category: automatic and manual, right? And the values, inside this values we will get the selling price, right? So this is called pivot table. You can get the cumulative value of this, right? So CNG we don't have any value where we have automatic, so it's showing NAN. For electric we don't have manual, so it's showing NAN, and similarly for automatic we don't have LPG, it's showing NAN, right? If it is having at least one value, otherwise then only it will show the respective float value or integer number, right? So this is the reason we are going to getting this cumulative value, right? So let me print this data again. So here we have kilometer driven, right? So let me copy this code again, and then let me paste it here. Okay, so what's the category here? We have automatic, transmission is only columns, we have manual, and this one. So index value we have fuel, right? What other we can see? We can go for the seller type also, right? So let me copy this seller type inside the index or inside the rows, right? I want all the rows for seller type. Now we have this column. So inside the column, can I have owner? So let me keep this owner. Instead of the transmission, I'm having owner. And the values. So what are the values? So let me see the kilometer driven. I'm going to check the cumulative value for kilometer driven, right? So I'm going to sum up all these values. So here you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 categories inside the owner. So these are the owner types. First owner, fourth and above, a second owner, test drive car, and third owner, right? On the horizontal type, we have seller type, dealer, individual, trust mark dealer, and so on. On the basis of these category, rows and column, I want to find the sum of values, kilometer driven. So can you see this is showing kilometer driven? All the kilometer values are just showing here, right? So this is all about the pivot table. We have we can which is very well known functionality in the Excel sheet, but here in the data pre-processing part we can also find out the pivot table, right? Then we can go for handling missing values. So what are these handling missing values? Do we have any missing value inside the data set, right? So for this we have, which is not available for us, so we have drop NA. So what is drop NA? So drop NA is 4340. So we don't have any values which is consisting of this one, right? So we in totality in total we, how many values do we have? We have 4340, but none of the is having 4340. None is of not available for us, right? But if I want to fill any field value with the value 0 or value 100, by default you want to keep this empty value or which is not available for you us, right? Suppose you have any candidate whose age is not available, उसकी उम्र के बारे में आपको पता नहीं है, तो आप क्या करोगे? आप randomly उसकी वैल्यू, उसकी एज जो है 35 फिल कर दोगे. So in that case in the age column you will keep value is equal to 35. तो जहां जहां एज कॉलम में एज अवेलेबल नहीं होगा, एज की वैल्यू होगी नहीं, वहां पे एम्प्टी होगा, NaN होगा, नॉट अवेलेबल नंबर होगा, वहां पर 35 से रिप्लेसमेंट हो जाएगा. दिस इज द मीनिंग ऑफ वैल्यू इज इक्वल टू 0 और वैल्यू इज इक्वल टू 35. डिड यू गेट दिस पॉइंट? So this function will replace all the null values with value is equal to 0. So can you see, if you run this code, you will find anywhere we have 0. So we will get all the values replaced by this one, right? If you don't want to change by constant value, right? आप किसी constant value से 35 से 10 से replace नहीं करना चाहते हैं. You want to check more statistic precision, more calculated value, more information there. So what we will do, we will just replace by the mean of the data set. What is the value here? आपने देखा कि मेरे पास में किलोमीटर ड्रिवन के कुछ कुछ रोज क्या है, एम्प्टी है. तो हमें एक तो तरीका क्या है कि कोई आप वैल्यू बता दो कि 50,000, बट 50,000 किसने बताया? व्हाट इज द थंब रूल टू फिल दिस 50,000 एट द प्लेस एट द एम्प्टी सेल? किसी ने नहीं बताया. वी डोंट हैव एनी रूल, राइट? अगर हमारे पास में वो कोई जस्टिफिकेशन नहीं है, कोई रीजन नहीं है, तो यू कैन चूज द आइदर ऑप्शन. व्हाट्स द आइदर ऑप्शन? यू कैन गो फॉर एवरेज पार्ट ऑफ ऑल दी कॉलम्स. आप क्या करेंगे? जितने भी अवेलेबल वैल्यू हैं, लाइक 4340 रोज हैं, उनका हम एवरेज निकालेंगे. तो ये क्या करेगा? डेटा डॉट मीन का एवरेज निकालेगा, और जहां कहीं भी फिल होगा वहां पर उसका एवरेज फिल होगा. वी विल फिल द एवरेज वैल्यू देयर. इफ यू रन दिस कोड, so you will find not the average value it's showing, but because we don't have any value like this one empty value, but it will fill the average value there, right? So suppose you want to check like t is equal to this one, and then I want to print this t. So what does it mean? We have data selling price, column name is selling price, and the first word. So data selling price is 60. So here you can see selling price is this representing this column, and I want to retrieve this first value. This is called slicing part, right? Now I want to check this slicing in between more values. Let's say I'm having 0 to 10. So I'm getting 10 values, first 10 values of this one, of this selling price column. So you can process upon particular column value, particular range, right? So you can get the second value, second part of this one, right? Now suppose I'm going to check the like this one S type. I want to check the string. The selling price will convert into the string, right? So here you can see this data point will be converted into a string. This is the type conversion of entire column value, right? You don't need any for loop or while loop, कोई iteration की जरूरत नहीं है, कोई हमें loop लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है, but we will convert it into the single particular value, right? So this particular function will convert my selling price into the string, and if you will check this selling price, this one, run this code here. If you will check, let's say, let me check. Yes, can you see this is the type? And like, can I check D type here? No, it's not working. But X, let me check D type. It's O. Let me have this. Okay. So it's going to check this D type, which is O. I'll get this D type. Why it's showing this value, right? So you can check the data type of particular value. Okay, we can go for this value. Cut C and cut V here, and I am having only one value, and let me print D type of this particular C, right? Can you see it's belonging to a string? This particular value, this 60,000 is string data type, but conceptually it should be integer. But why it's showing str class? Because we have converted this as type to str. Just recently we have converted into string data type. This is the reason it's showing string. But now I'll run this code as type integer, and it will convert entire column values into the integer. Now I'll run the same code after this command. Here you can see I'll run this code. Now it's showing numpy integer 32, but previously it was showing str, right? So we have integer 32 means only 32 values, like only integer numbers are represented in this column, right? So here you can see the conversion type conversion we can apply here, right? Similarly, you can apply the function over more of the concept. Like we have apply function here, so now we have this. Let's say we have a master function. Is this function is called reverse name, and we know what's the responsibility of reverse name. It's just converting entire name, like Sachin, so it will convert. Like if I had getting this, let me run this code or call this number, but this one, and suppose I'm having this name Sachin, so it's printing SACHIN in the reverse order. So this is the simply reverse order of any string value or the set of characters, right? But I want to deploy this same string not only the single column, like for seller type individual. I want to print this number in the reverse order. I want to apply this function over all the rows. So what I'll do the same function and will write apply here. So data transformation dot apply reverse name. Can you see the reverse is name is my defined data, user defined data. I'm going to pass this user defined data inside the apply function. This is the skeleton of this data for this apply function. Let me run this code, and can you see this transmission is now written in the reverse order, manual, right? If I get the sample out of it, sample 20, so you can see this transmission automatic, manual, automatic, it's written in the reverse order because we have just applied the same function over multiple values, right? This is the part of function. Now can I export this data into the CSV part? Yes, this is the output, and output session 6, right? This would be my output CSV file. We started from the input CSV car.csv, if you recall now, And now after so many operations on the same master data, I'm going to export into my local machine. So I'm going to run this code, and if you'll check this part in your local host, you will find this output session 6 is just here in your machine. If you run this code, can you see this manual is written into the reverse order, right? Or automatic is into the reverse order, right? So this is the classification part. If you want to export, if you want to download it in your here, so you just click here and download it, and you will find in the local machine. If you click over here, then you will be getting this output session 6 in your local machine, right? Now I'm going to export the same value into the format of Excel sheet, not the CSV format. I need in the Excel format. My manager asked to export the data, to convey this data set into the Excel sheet. So I'll write this output underscore session 6 and then this one, right? So here we have data to Excel, and again you will find this output session Excel sheet, right? If you are going to download it, right? Let me open this Office 2021. So you will find this sheet is almost here. So we have all the rows. If you recall, 4,300 something rows. Yes, we have 4,341, right? Because it's starting from first is header and is starting from 2, right? If you focus at the manual value, it's written in the reverse order, which is just we deployed over apply the function, right? Now this was the part of this one. Now second comes the statistic part. क्वेरी सेम क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे कि आपको एक्सपोर्ट करना है तो कौन से क्वेश्चन आपको फंक्शन यूज होगा, आपको CSV में डेटा एक्सपोर्ट करना है तो आपको कौन सा फंक्शन करना होगा, आपको कोई भी मान लो नेम दे दिया, मान लीजिए मैंने टेकलांग नेम दे दिया और टेकलांग का रिवर्स ऑर्डर होगा, तो आपको क्या लिखना है, नेम और उसका डबल कॉलन और -1। ये डायरेक्ट फंक्शन आपको याद होना चाहिए बाय हार्ट कि सिंपल आपने अगर लिखा है तो वो उस तरीके से रिवर्स ऑर्डर में प्रिंट होगा, राइट? जैसे कि मैं लिखूं, कुछ भी लिखूं टेकलांग, राइट? और इसको मैं लिखता हूं, इसका मैं लेट मी चेक कि ऐसे वर्क करता है कि नहीं। यस, कैन यू सी डायरेक्टली भी ये वर्क करेगा क्योंकि मैंने यहाँ पर एक स्ट्रिंग दिया है और इस स्ट्रिंग के साथ में स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट और कोलन कोलन -1 अप्लाई करने के साथ में जैसे ही रन किया तो ये एक रिवर्स ऑर्डर मुझे प्रिंट करके दे रहा है, राइट? तो टेकलांग इज डेटा साइंस, राइट? तो यहाँ पर डेटा साइंस कोर्स को आप क्या करना चाहते हो, रिवर्स ऑर्डर में। तो आप देख सकते हो कि ये जो एंटायर स्ट्रिंग है रिवर्स ऑर्डर में प्रिंट हो रही है, राइट? Oh, extremely sorry for my Hindi language, right? So we are writing in a reverse order. Teklang is data science, right? So here we have reverse order of this. But if you want to pass this function, let's say I'm going to pass this name is equal to Teklang is data set and going to deploy this name, it will perform the same operation, right? But the same operation I have passed to the function so that I can use the same function again and again for as many as rows. So I'm going to reverse this name and pass the same function here, right? And now finally I just apply or pass this this argument, apply reverse name inside the entire column, right? This might be the interview question, like what are the reverse order. Come back to the statistics part. If you want to check the statistic for your numerical values, so you can go for describe function, which is another important part. We have describe, count, mean, standard deviation, minimum value. Out of these three quantitative values only. We don't have any characteristics or string value, but we have quantitative values only, right? Suppose you want to check the minimum year of this, mean of this column. So here you can see it's showing the mean of this year entire value, though it's conceptually wrong, but still calculation will be there, right? Can we go for pictorial format visualization? So we can go for data.plot. Here you can see the year, selling price, kilometer driven is just showing all the plot value. This is just axis subplot, and we have respective bar chart respective there, right? If you want to check some another kind of graph, let's say I'm going to kind of bar chart, so I'll write data.plot and bar kind of chart will be bar, right? So here we have bar chart. So obviously it will be very rough language, but finally we will get the bar chart, right? It's a very huge data set. This is the reason it's taking much time, but meanwhile we can check for the indexing and slicing. Let me add it here, indexing and slices, and then we can write this code data loc. We want to check this location based my consider value. If I'm going to check on the basis of index value, so I'll get 0 to 10, like first 10 rows and their first 10 columns, like 2 columns will be there, right? So it's showing ILOC, like first 10 rows and 2 columns will be displayed, right? So let me stop this one because it will take time. And now I'm going to run this indexing and selection, right? Similarly, this indexing and selection will be done now. We have, okay, comment this one. Okay, so here you can see inside the indexing and selection, we can go for ILOC first column. I'm going to select the first column, first row, right? Then I'm going to select the 0 to 10 first row and second column to first 2 columns. So name and year are selected here, right? So this is the part of indexing and selection. So this is the reason we can go for entire pandas library, which is most widely used for machine learning and artificial intelligence. And this is the Bible, and this functionality is not limited here. We have more and more functions. You can visit pandas official website and you can find more libraries there, right? So what are the pandas library? You can just type Google. Inside Google, just type pandas, right? And hit run, and you can see pandas data analysis library, and we can go for the documentation part in order to seek another latest version, install pandas, getting started, user guide, API reference for your cloud collaboration, right? So we can go working and getting started. You can go for how you can create plots in pandas. You can copy and paste this code, but first and foremost you must understand the basics which we have discussed in previous in this session, right? Then only you can understand this official website, because they have very complex code, very extreme part, right? So directly you cannot understand, but slowly, gradually, if you remember the basic functions, you remember the ground truth of this pandas library, then you can understand this, reshape the layout, combination of multiple tables, and so on, right? So this was all about. Thank you all for joining this pandas library. If you have any doubt, any question, we can discuss now. We can go ahead, write in the comment section.